CSS kind of talk. So that was what I did. I learned a lot, spent a lot of time with people just reading them. I also sat in a bunch of HTML5 and ARIA talks. And was going to South by right after. My brain doesn't remember which was at which event. But I guess I'll pass on to Mr. Royman next so he can talk about the talk he gave in a general sense along with some of the stuff he did. If you guys have any questions along the way, feel free to ask.
I shouldn't need the phone because the speaker's got a built mic into it, so I should be fine.
Push right out the way.
Oh.
I moved it away.
But I was going to use the speaker instead of the actual phone because there's a mic in the speaker itself.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
You got this other one.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I mean, the guys on the phone. No, you guys. I know you guys can. Most of the phones on mute. You guys on the phone, you can hear me as well? They probably can.
Go ahead.
All right. Mark Royman here. I actually did talk at CSUN on iOS accessible apps with Mika Paikula. And we basically covered a number of apps that are accessible on the iOS platform out of the box using iOS's voice over screen reading product. And we covered, oh God, maybe 10 or 11 apps in 45 minutes. It was pretty quick. In fact, Mr. Mahmoud to my left actually was I couldn't say a victim. Because he was a participant. Yeah, he was coerced. It was very hard. I actually sent him a voice text message using one of the apps, and he was in Germany at the time.
Which app?
I used Heytail to send the message. And I said to him, Zuhair, I want you to tell us where you are, what time it is, and what you're doing. And he comes back immediately and says, oh, I'm in Germany at 7 o'clock at night, and I've just finished having dinner. And the entire room was like in awe of that, because it was real quick, instantaneous voice transmission. But that session went very well, pretty packed room. I attended a number of other sessions on iOS. One of the other sessions was actually very similar to mine. They went over a number of apps. It was Mike May and Peter Katsani, just going over what apps they like to use. I also attended Larry Lewis's Braille iOS presentation where he was demonstrating the use of iOS with Braille displays. And I then decided that instead of attending a number of sessions that I really wanted to attend, I was roaming around the exhibit hall looking at various Braille displays from various manufacturers. And
Like you need another one.
yeah, and pondering those, but I think I looked at a few of them. I also went to a demo of the Sendero GPS app. Now, unfortunately, we weren't able to really demo it with the GPS because we were on the 17th floor of the Hyatt. I think it was the 8th floor. So finding a GPS signal and figuring out where you were walking would have been a little difficult. So they basically just discussed the app. We tried to get them to commit to a price, but they didn't really commit to a price on that app. So we'll have to see what it costs when it comes out in another month or so. Hopefully it won't be that expensive.
What's unique about it compared to other apps?
It is basically a GPS app for the iPhone, but it will give the visually impaired user more information than, for example, Navigon would if you're walking around. If you're using this app, when you come to an intersection, it will tell you what type of intersection it is, where the crossing streets are, and then you also have points of interest as you walk along. What it will also give you is if you aim your phone in a certain direction, it will tell you the points of interest that are in that direction by using what they call a look-around wand. Similar to the Android APH app that was just released that uses something called a GeoBeam, so it's similar name, similar function. You aim your tablet or your phone in the direction you want to see where the points of interest are, and you get a list of those. And apparently the APH, from what I read online, the APH app will actually store a map offline, so you won't need a data connection when using it on an item, but it might not have constant data connection like a tablet. But attended those sessions. I was going to go to a couple HTML5 sessions, but then work decided to show up, and so I canceled, had to skip those sessions and do some work, otherwise patent office would have not happy with me. So did that. I also unfortunately missed John's last talk on Friday.
Oh, you've seen it, heard it. Didn't change much.
I did go to Paul's Android session on Friday, which was very, very well done. Had a packed room, a very packed room, as a matter of fact. And Mr. Adam did an excellent job. And that's basically it for me, I think. Yeah, actually, you would. Okay, yeah, I did actually. They were debuting another app at CSUN that is an iPhone app for people who are visually impaired called Sight Compass. And what they did is they placed a number of Bluetooth-based beacons around the hotel. And what this app would do is you would indicate which location you wanted to go to in a list, and it would then give you walking directions to that spot and describe one of the locations was the Starbucks. So it would describe how to get to the Starbucks from the main entrance of the lobby, and then once you walked into the Starbucks, it described the layout of the restaurant. So it just said the counter along the back wall, along the left wall there were various condiment dispensers, stuff like that. So I think that when it becomes available will be an advantageous app for people when the boxes become more widely available. They were actually just debuting it at CSUN.
Does it automatically speak the changes as you walk around, or do you have to query?
I didn't try it as to that aspect. There is actually a podcast up there. Blind Bargains did around 40 or 50 podcasts at the conference, and they did talk to the president of Sight Compass. I ran into him when I was walking across the lobby. He simply walked up to me and introduced himself, which was nice of him. And that's how I met him. But Blind Bargains interviewed him for their podcast.
Mark, is that something like Ward Vaughn's talking signs?
Similar, I think. It's similar to that. It could be used in that respect, yeah. I think it could be, I think it could be similar to that. But yeah, instead of carrying one of their special receivers, you'd simply carry your phone.
Right, but
Yeah.
they, like all the stores would have to get the
Right, you'd have to buy the boxes, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But yeah, it's similar concept, yeah. Yep. Another thing that Mike May and these guys at Sendero are actually were testing at CSUN, and I'm not a part of the test process, but from what I hear, they're testing a Bluetooth finder, people finder app that will, if you are in the room and somebody else walks in that you know, they will say, hey, such and such has entered the room, and it's Bluetooth, so it's only going to work in the range of 30 feet, but what it will also then let you do is you walk toward them. Apparently it will tell you, and I didn't see it working, it will tell you whether you're getting warmer or colder, but it will also let you call or text them to ask them where they are.
Will it also help me try to run away if I didn't want to see you?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, it probably would. Yeah, you could probably do that.
Kidding.
I think that
There have been dating apps that didn't work out so well this way, you know?
Yeah, so, but that one is, they're testing that app, so it's not available at this point, but they're testing it. They had a session on it. I wasn't able to attend because I was actually at another meeting that I couldn't get out of. I did, in the other meeting I was actually at, was the Freedom Product Advisory Board, where they talked about the new features of Magic and the new features of JAWS 15. I didn't attend the what's new in JAWS session, but from what I understand, one of the new features in JAWS 15 for Windows 8 will be touch gestures. And you'll have various flick and touch gestures similar to what you have in iOS, including, I guess, one that was called the rotor, or a rotor type gesture, according to what I saw on Twitter about it. They didn't, of course, demonstrate it, but the beta should be out sometime this summer for public use.
On the people finding app, does it have a vibrating mode that when people?
I don't know, but I didn't see a demo. It's a good question, though. The Blind Bargains may have also interviewed Mike May, and I would think if they're actually developing it, you would hope they would put in a vibration mode. I would think they would have put in something like that. I don't know. Like I said, I unfortunately didn't get to see it demoed, but they did demo it during. I think it may have been a vibration mode. I would check the Blind Bargains podcast. I think they did talk to them about that app.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, no problem.
I read an article a few months ago from, on Google, the Google Maps team, I guess, is trying to, use, wireless routers and the like, to be able to triangulate your position, inside of buildings, to give you a layout of what's in that building. So if you were in a mall, for example, it would be able to tell you, like, what store you are and your proximity to stores.
Now that's nice.
That would be
So
That would be
people
very cool.
standing in the way when you're walking.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, it'll tell you that. but-
Yeah, that's the only guy.
Pretty soon they'll build in these sensors too.
Yeah.
There you go.
Unless you got a hot dog stand there.
Mr. Lawrence, do you have anything to say about CSUN besides you didn't sleep much like me?
I don't remember anything very specifically. Unfortunately.
That could be interpreted.
No, I mean, I can talk to, I think, it's like, right now I'm actually going through my calendar, and like, which sessions did I go to? And I was impressed with everyone I went to. Some of them I wish I could have gone to, like, the Laney Feingold's legal update.
Yeah, I went to that one last year.
Yeah?
Yeah,
The
it was,
same time as,
This same time as yours, I think.
oh, yeah.
The accessibility communities. That's why I came into yours, because hers was full.
gee, thanks.
Well, John actually attended mine. He didn't realize he booked his sessions based on the topics, and so he said, "Oh, I'm going to iOS accessibility." I said, "John, that's my session."
Okay, can you help me find the room? Sure.
Yeah, sure.
I think my favorite thing I do remember is listening to Andrew Arch, Sean Henry, and Sharon Rush.
Ah,
They were talking about Training Resource Suite for web accessibility. Basically, I think a lot of this, or maybe it's just me, you go to w3c.org and you look at the WCAG information once, you memorize it, and you never go back. But they're actually updating it, and constantly updating it, and if you don't pay attention, the stuff updates it. And so they have a wealth of training resources on there now, and I really enjoy going there. I mean, first of all, listen to them, because I thought they were going to teach us what to train people, but they're not teaching you what to train, they're teaching you on how to just, use the resources available on W3C's website to help train everybody else.
yeah, that's what Sean went over their website in the session I was at. It was just her, and she went over all the resources, like the WCAG, where to find the guidelines and the training resources, and the authoring guidelines and the user agent guidelines, and where all that different documentation was.
Right.
And then, yeah, she did say they're constantly updating that stuff
I know.
all the time.
And I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, and I liked her sessions.
And then I can't remember which one I've been meaning to look at, but they have something, the easy something on the W3C.
I think she mentioned that. What is it?
Easy something. It's like the easy guide to understanding WCAG.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it was like a cheesy checklist of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
really looked at that, but that's one of the challenges we have, is teaching other people about how to understand WCAG. AA, conformance, and all this fun stuff. So,
I just asked William. Here's how to code it. William, what's the rule again?
then I asked Barry, or I asked somebody else. No, so I had a really good time. Cocktail parties are always a pleasure.
Cocktail parties, we even had a wine tasting. with somebody.
Oh, the wine tasting on
Which
Friday
explains why
was the
it's
hit
all
of the
blur.
conference.
Yeah.
Yes, for those that didn't attend, I put on a wine tasting at the hotel on Friday night, same as I did last year, and I'm expecting more, wanting to come again next year. We managed to, or I managed to mail a case of wine from home, 'cause it's cheaper than buying a whole case of wine that I like. And then we bought some more, and some other people donated it. We got a room donated. William and I and Char's friend Sue, that lived in San Diego, spent a good amount of time Sunday walking around the farmer's market getting supplies and cheese and all that.
So one thing I do want to, is not shameless promotion, but necessarily promoting some people that are here. One of the sessions I really enjoyed was Devis's discussion on how they took a SharePoint site and made it accessible in less than 3 hours. No, I'm exaggerating. It was, they had a project for Department of Labor, I think somebody here can speak to it if you want to, or not.
Sure. My colleague Lee Crane gave that presentation.
Wrong thing to move forward. Wrong thing to move forward. The big black box is what you want to move towards her.
Okay, 1 minute. Hold on.
I got you.
There you go.
But that's about it. Right there.
That's good, no
All
problem.
right.
Yeah, you didn't pull it that far. It's a pretty good microphone.
Okay.
My colleague Lee Crane gave that presentation. He's a project manager, works on a lot of EOL projects. So what we did with the application is called ePolicy Work, and it's an interagency collaboration tool using SharePoint, which a lot of government agencies are moving toward. But we had to make SharePoint as accessible as possible. We have a funny story there actually that.
She can't hear you.
Is this any better?
Get the microphone.
Can I proceed to the
No, she needs to.
Yeah, put that a little closer.
Okay.
Put my phone closer and move the.
Tell you
other
what
can
we'll
u-
do.
use that might help.
Three
That's not gonna
RHs.
help.
See if you can speak it to that.
Does this help?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay.
So it is using
All right. No problem. So the application is called ePolicy Work. It is an interagency collaboration tool based off of the SharePoint platform. We have a little bit of a funny story that came out of CSUN that we were originally using 2007 and went to Microsoft and said this isn't very accessible. How do we make it more accessible? And they said, well, you upgrade to 2010.
investment head.
And
You
then we
said I
had-
don't have $100,000.
Well, we did upgrade in 2010, but we happened to be speaking to somebody from the Microsoft booth. He came over and talked to us, and we were telling him, about some of the issues that we run into with 2010. And he said, well, you need to upgrade to 2013.
The upgrade train.
You're like, open source.
So I don't know the details of everything that was done. In a nutshell, there was a lot of areas that were pared down. They were deemed not to be necessary for the purposes of the website. There were some things that they did, some features that they added to increase the accessibility. The master pages that they used were more accessible. They mentioned some of the features they actually had to pare down or remove. And there's a number of other things. I think like trying to find a calendar plugin that worked right. That's a challenge on every application that we use. Calendars, finding one that's accessible. But it was generally pretty well received. So if anybody wants to see our presentation that we have on ePolicy Works, it's on DEV's website, or I'm sorry, it's actually on Department of Labor's website. I think it was linked to in your big screenshot.
Probably.
Or we could maybe ask Lee to give it here.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Or Lee.
Is he in the neighborhood?
He's in this area. He actually lives right down the street.
All right.
In fact, that might actually be better because the presentation was on ePolicy Works as a whole versus, he was one of 3 contributors to the project, and his side was just on the how do we make it accessible. So.
And I think that would be a good
It'd
one
be a
to
good
do in
topic.
a couple months, so we can try to get some more of the
And it was an
developers.
accessible presentation, not to promote him again. I mean, it was high level, but yet detailed enough for, I think, a wide audience, which is what I really appreciated about it.
Yes, I think that's very different. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Can you repeat? Sorry, can you repeat what you said again?
My phone, the audio
Oh, there she
is
goes.
a little bit. So if you were talking about SharePoint accessibility, I'm really interested in that topic.
we're gonna try to do that talk, cause the guy that gave the talk lives here in the DC area. So we're gonna try to get him to do that at another time.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Adam, are you still on the phone? Would you like to talk about your talk or talks or some of the one stuff you saw?
Sure.
There it is.
My probably feedback goes from my headphones on.
What?
Is that me? Or
No, you
is there
said,
an echo? Is that from y'all or from me?
We're not echoing on this end.
Okay.
Now I
Maybe
noticed that
some-
mute button.
The microphone on the box ain't working.
While he's speaking.
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We heard you better before.
Sorry. Okay, I'll unplug.
There we go.
Anyway, I did the Android
We're
accessibility
just gonna
talk.
make it beep, Patrick.
And had a ton of people in the room. That was really cool. If you'd like to access the slides for that, it's at pauljadams.com/Android A11Y. A11Y.
Android, is that one word, Android at A11Y, or was that two?
One word, all lowercase.
Got it.
Excellent.
And I also did a talk on modern web accessibility with JavaScript and Way ARIA. And that is the same URL, except it's modern A11Y.
Okay. You want to describe those a little bit?
Yeah, so modern, I'm talking about how you make mobile dialogues accessible, things like session timeout, basically all the biggest interactions you see on websites. And I have links to live examples, links to the W3C specification. And then the Android talk is going over the new magnification features and talk about Android 4.2. And then talkback capabilities. I have links to how to make native Android apps accessible.
The dogs. You still there?
Yeah. No, I mean, I had a great season. It was really great meeting everybody, meeting new people I hadn't met before. Met a guy who works on NVDA, Andrew Curran, and Tillman, and seeing everybody I've met already. That was cool. I had lots of fun. Hope to see y'all next year, too.
Yeah. Anybody else out there, Michelle or otherwise, want to speak? Say how if they was, especially if it was your first CSUN, over some of ours third or fourth or ninth.
Hey, Paul, this is Michelle Christian, and I was hearing I attended your session on ARIA, which is awesome, but I was also wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing with everybody a little bit about a maze, because I went to a couple different sessions where they talked about a maze. I was so impressed with it, kind of hoping you would talk a little bit about it, but I could say what I learned, but coming from someone that would really know better. Do you mind talking about it a little?
Sure, yeah. So on a maze, did some demonstration. Basically, we had a demo where there's a problem with the bank's homepage where the form controls were not labeled and the contact us button did not work. So we used the maze, which just basically injects the accessibility features using JavaScript, and it adds an accessibility layer on top of the existing code. Because a lot of organizations are so large and bureaucratic, it's actually hard to edit their old HTML code, a lot of legacy code. Amaze is kind of trying to solve those problems and also fix content that comes in from third parties, like add this widget or sharing widget or Facebook like button. Things that you don't have control over, Amaze can make that accessible. Does that help?
Oh yeah, it's so neat. With the risk of sounding corny, I just thought it was amazing.
Cool, great. Thanks.
Anybody got anything else they want to discuss, CSUN or otherwise?
So can those of us who did not attend ask questions?
Sure. You're going to get all kinds of fun answers, but...
All right.
Go ahead.
So I've got two questions, or maybe one question, but two sections. So question one, subsection A. What was the coolest device or piece of technology that those of you that have toured the exhibitions
The
have
corkscrew
seen?
I brought for the wine.
I know we're we're talking about technology.
It is a technology,
All
it's a
right. Very
manual
simple.
one, but.
The high
You
tech.
mean you didn't
Oh.
find an app switch in it?
Oh. And I guess the second part of the question is, oftentimes, whenever you attend a conference, you hear people talking, there are topics that seem to sort of dominate the conversation, or trends,
Well,
if you
depends
like.
on which conference. Usually it's, did you see so-and-so? They were really drunk yesterday.
Going back to.
Mr. Royman, I'm going to pass to you on the technology stuff because you wandered yourself from the room.
I did, but unfortunately, that exhibit hall was so large that I had specific booths in mind, so
Hands back.
wandering around was a little good. I did enjoy seeing the raised rail displays that I had my hands on. I didn't see the new Handytech displays. That's the only one that I missed. But I did see a number of different rail displays that you of course have probably seen before. I didn't really see any new technology, unfortunately. Like I said, wandering around the exhibit hall was a little daunting. It was very large and very, very, very busy.
So I went around with Mike Gill and we went to, is it Parsons School that has a Brailler?
Oh, Perkins.
Perkins, excuse me.
Perkins.
The Perkins Brailler
Perkins.
was interesting because it was electronic, so you could
Yeah,
do tests and quizzes for younger kids,
Yeah,
but
that's-
also put a USB to keep track of it to look at their
Right.
answers later.
That's actually new. I actually talked. You mentioned it. I actually did have dinner with Jim Denham on Saturday evening, who's their director of Perkins up there, and I did actually ask him about it because I heard they had a display, and what it's basically meant to be similar to is the Mountbatten Brailler, which is a device produced by Quantum Technologies in Australia. So it has a display as well, and the new Brailler has they developed the electronic version to be out to do exactly what you just said, John. You could do tests and quizzes, and the teacher could see the results
Right, we
right on the
print out in
display.
Braille, but you could also read
You
it
could
on
also read on the
display for
display, and then you could
like
could
sighted
plug it in
parents
USB.
and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't make it to Perkins this year. I made it there last year. I didn't make it there this year. But I'd heard they were doing something like that.
Yeah, that was the one thing I saw there.
Yeah.
Did anybody see Leap Motion? Eric and Craig came back and talked about
I saw Leap
that
Motion
in
at
particular.
South by Southwest. That was really cool.
Yeah, I didn't see that at CSUN.
Leap Motion is about.
I'm still waiting for mine to arrive.
They're not supposed to raid for another month or so. I was going to get a couple of them, but they were roughly 1.5 inches wide, 1/2 inch high, and about 4 inches long. And they were really cool because you put your hand, lay your hand over it, and you could see your fingers do that in 3D. And if you moved it in a wave type motion, you'd see the wave on there. They were playing Fruit Ninja with it, using your hands over it. There was a whole bunch of games. There was one sort of Photoshop-esque paintbrush application that was really interesting. So if you were a big artist and you could paint with your hand over it like you normally would paint and change colors and pressures on brushes. So that was really interesting when I saw that. I even got to play with it.
Was there any demonstration of using it with sign language? Because that's what I'm thinking about.
I did not see that.
It's going to
So
track.
when you sign,
It'll track hand motions moving above it. And the resolution that I've seen in
They're still
online
working.
demos is getting pretty darn good.
Right.
It's like, whoa, that's got some finger tracking action going on.
Right. They were showing that some of the ones they were demoing because they hadn't finished everything. But they had problems if you were to, bend your finger under it, it would lose your finger. So then you'd only see like 3 fingers and a thumb.
Right.
Or if you turned your hand and made it go up and down so the fingers more or less stacked on top of each other, it would lose it. But in some of the stuff that they're working on now, they're doing that. But I mean, the device more or less sits on the ground, plugged into your computer, and then shoots up. I guess there's 3 cameras and a couple of sensors in this whole thing. They said we could have made it smaller, but we needed the range because it then shoots. It sees like 2 feet or 3 feet up and around in sort of a rectangle like the device is. So you don't have to have it directly over it. You could be out on the sides and get stuff in. So I got to see the guys talk about that at South by. And then I got to go see the device later on and play with it a bit. But the tent was really busy, so I didn't get a lot of time to play with everything in it. Is there anyone else that has any questions, talks, concerns? Go ahead.
I have 2 questions. Particularly as far as iOS apps are concerned.
Oh.
I know, I
knew
knew
who's
that
answering
would,
that question.
I knew that would perk you right
Either
up.
me or Zuhair over here.
Has anybody seen anything, did anything come out, two pieces. Number 1, on any kind of a good color teller. I still haven't found a good color teller. And number 2, did anyone see anything as far as apps that are more, not so much for voiceover, but work more for people with low vision? Especially, I've been working with someone who's got Starguts, and I'm especially trying to find a calendar that's readable, visually readable with someone with low vision.
Right. Not at CSUN, no. But, and there are a number of different color identifiers on AppleVis, but I'm not sure which one of them work better than others. Some of them have gotten better ratings on the website than other ones, but I haven't found one that's been reliable. Have you found one?
Actually, the one I've found the most reliable, and it's not terribly good at it, is Tap Tap See.
Yeah, I've heard good things about, was it Color Advisor is one of them. Have you heard?
I couldn't get that one to work well.
Anything about color identification?
I've actually given up on color identification apps because it's so complex, but what I do use is VisWiz.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
VisWiz would work for that.
Not
Yeah.
the most efficient if you want to know the color right away, but if you've got a second,
You
a
got a
minute
few
or two
seconds,
to spare, you certainly would
At
have more
6:15
accurate
in the
results.
morning when you're trying to figure out which shirt to wear. I'm not
Yeah,
sure that-
you could always make it a 12-6.
Give it a few minutes to process.
You do get good results.
You do,
That
you
is
really
definitely
do.
true.
Yeah.
And you could ask for nuance, like, you could ask what I like about it is, not only can you say, well, what color is that, but, you could be more specific.
What shade?
My favorite one is like, do these socks match?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, the kids aren't wearing a match anymore. It's a thin thing, so.
You could clash.
I knew somebody that in marketing that would purposely not wear the same socks to big meetings and wear like, a Christmas sock on one foot and a Halloween or something on another. Then in meetings, they cross one foot over the other so his sock would show. And then later in the meeting, switch legs and you see people just looking at him. So.
I'm not hearing too well, so I think I'll drop now.
Okay.
Take care. Thank you.
Hey, John,
Yep.
did you tell them about the curb cut website, the See Some Big List?
Oh yeah, the great big list.
No. There's I don't have the URL with me.
Yeah, it's what is it? Curb cuts. It's the great big list from CSU in 2013. I was looking at it today.
I think they have like 80 talks
Yeah, there's a
or
bunch of them up there.
links to stuff.
Yep.
And I still have to send them links to mine. I mean, they talked about, some of them are links to slides, some are people's write-up about someone's talk, and then listing everybody that was speaking in a particular talk, so that way they can find out who they were in their info. I will try to pass that along once I get home or tomorrow or something to the group so you all can look at that. I also had enjoyed 2 talks about accessibility at South by Southwest. One was Matt May's talk on mobile developer 40 years required, or experience required.
Oh my God.
There's actually 2 people that qualify for that. Ray Herzwall, and there's some other guy, Greg somebody or other.
Vanderheiden.
Probably Vanderheiden.
Vanderheiden, yeah.
Because they've been doing mobile forever,
Greg
so
Vanderheiden.
it's like the only ones who could do it. So he was more or less using that the title to bring people in and talking about mobile and accessibility of websites on mobile. And then what was the other accessibility talk I went to see?
Was it the Touch Me Now presentation? Victor gave that one.
I went to Victor's talk, yes. Victor did a mobile iPhone and Android talk and tried to get people to do stuff. It was interesting watching, because I didn't bring headphones. I forgot them, so I didn't want to do the things. It was just interesting watching around the room, watching all these people, You know, first he had him just do it with the screen on and try to do stuff around there. Then he had him turn the screen curtain off so you couldn't see.
Oh, boy.
And then he also put like a napkin over it, if you put a napkin over it so you could half see at times. You know, it's fun. He goes, now I want you to tweet this, and he puts out this like 100-character Twitter note, and a bunch of people, you know, had difficulty. Some of them, you know, got about 4 letters in and were like, what? Victor goes, yeah, it's easy, isn't it?
Nice.
Paul attended that. How did you enjoy that, Paul?
Oh yeah, Victor's talk was really good. I haven't seen him before in person. He was smart and made sure not to allow me to answer the question.
Right.
I enjoy hearing the other people's experience with accessibility, so I learned a lot from that.
Yeah, he more or less told us 4 accessibility people, or 3.5, that were in the room all in one row. Please don't answer the questions, or at least give everybody else a chance before you did it, because there was myself, Paul, Dennis Lambre, and then Anthony DePaul, who lives here in the Baltimore area. He's learning in the accessibility stuff, so he kind of more or less had us not say unless no one else wanted to answer. But it was.
Hey, John.
Yes, sir.
There was one other talk I heard which got done by Southwest. It was
Go
a
ahead.
future 15-minute talk on design for aging. So not really web accessibility, but I thought it was very interesting. He was basically pointing out that all the assistive technology for elderly people right now is kind of like boring looking. All the buttons are really sad, and not something that's exciting. You know, as we grow up, we're not really going to want to use this technology. We want to be modern and cool, and we're not really designing products for aging like that currently.
Right.
Actually, this is Karen, and I'm not sure because there was a bit of an echo. If you were talking about web accessibility for folks who might not be very familiar with the web or are older, I think that's an excellent topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is more about physical devices like canes, or hearing aids, and you know, the medical technology that kind of the colors are really dull and nothing exciting about them.
Well, and I'm hearing an echo, but I would say 2 thoughts. One would be, you know, what content or information do older folks need to get, and what do they need to help them be able to access that information? So, for example, if they have a hand tremor or something like that, it's different than having a screen reader. It's, you know, how do we accommodate someone who might be comfortable with using a computer, but their pen takes a little bit, or they might need, you know, amplified volume or larger font.
Right.
Well, this is a bit of an aside, but
I kind of like that way.
I know that I have a friend who works at AARP, and they give considerable money to the MIT Media Lab to develop technology for an aging population, and the Media Lab does all sorts of cool stuff. So I don't know how much they're doing, but they are getting money from AARP to address needs of an older population.
Well, that sounds great. And who's speaking, please?
Kevin Cole.
Kevin Cole. So.
My phone connection is really bad. I'm sorry.
That was Kevin Cole from Gallaudet
Gallaudet.
University.
Hey, John, maybe we could catch up later, and I think that could be a good topic for, you know, future discussion, because, quite frankly, I have older parents.
Right. We'll look into it. We'll add it to the list. We have a list.
Everybody just, Mark, the phone's terrible on the phone. It's full echo, I think, on phone.
I agree.
Yeah, see, we had to go to the cell phone because the phone in the library wouldn't let us dial in, is why we're having some of these issues.
I just want to let you know, for
It's pretty tough on the phone.
Okay. I guess.
I agree, and yet it's been really helpful. However, if I followed the last discussion, I think it would be nice to discuss, accommodations for older folks on the internet
All right.
at some point in the future. I think it would be really interesting.
Cool.
There's, that Enable group, I think they're called.
In June?
Yeah, in June, they have a summit that's supposed to be for, like a series of
Yeah, Genesis is coming
10
back
to
for that.
15-minute talks or something like that about, ways to improve mobile
He didn't
accessibility
say.
for the elder
He said he
population.
would be in town, but he didn't say he was
Enabling Summit.
That's it.
That's it? Oh.
Yeah, it's a conference and showcase in 2013 on June 6th and 7th here in Washington, D.C.
/ Crystal City, really?
/ kind of Crystal City. If you're a government, you can register and attend for $195. If not government, $420. But there might be other things on the side somewhere. I have no idea. Oh, that's all I know.
What is it called again? Enabling?
Enabling Summit.
Enabling.
Yeah, it's the Global Summit on Accessible Mobile Technology for Senior Citizens and Users of All Abilities.
They had it last year because we were in Maryland.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and they have lots of big sponsors, DQ being one of them. Nudge, nudge.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, they sponsored us.
Yeah, but they're right up there with AT&T and BlackBerry. Or is that RIM? No, it's BlackBerry.
BlackBerry now.
I know. Microsoft. Oh, big, lot of conference sponsors and. Yeah, Genesis Assumption. If anybody has heard of him, he'll be here in town for that.
Yeah, we don't recognize the name. It's some Canadian, I think.
You bringing the rest of the Canadians with them this time?
Yeah, I think it's coming solo. Yeah.
He told me that on the way out of John's wine tasting party, he mentioned he'd be here for that in June. He had to leave early because he said he was tired.
He was tired of the party. He had to go to a third one.
Oh, he had to crash.
could've.
I think he went to bed. He's like,
But I guess on that note, unless Clayton has a little bit to say about what he's going to be talking about next month as a general overview.
Sure.
Go ahead, Patrick.
So you'll be the first to hear it, a talk on non-visual visual programming. So I'll give you the instigating anecdote because you may know some of the people involved. So this is where this came from, and you can see where it went. So there was it actually could have been at that enabling thing where they had a kickoff session at the FCC. Anyway, at some event at the FCC, there was a panel with Greg Vanderheiden and various other people on it, and Jamal Mazrui, who I imagine some of you know, was in the audience. So Jamal is a blind computer scientist, and so Jamal proposed to the committee that there should be emphasis on creating accessible tools for creating technology so that people with disabilities can create their own stuff. So Greg Vanderheiden fielded that for the panel and responded very enthusiastically, of course. And in his enthusiastic response, he started talking about how wonderful visual programming was as a way of making programming easier for people. So I established afterwards that neither Jamal nor Greg saw the incongruity in Greg talking about how wonderful visual programming was to Jamal, but I noticed it. And but then it made me think about some of the work of T.V. Raman, whom also I'm sure many of you here know. So Raman has said something like, the way to think about the visual system is it's a way to answer questions against a spatial database. If you give somebody another way to ask the questions to get the answers, then they don't need the visual system. So the noodle system is my effort to apply the Raman principle to visual programming. So I've created a data flow-based programming system that has, in addition to an ordinary but extremely amateurish visual interface, it also has a non-visual interface to explore this proposition of how the same computational model should be available in a non-visual way by identifying the operations people need to perform and the information they need to get, that the sighted person would get from the display, and make it possible for that to work. So that's what I'll talk about.
Cool.
I'm sorry, where are you giving the presentation?
Here.
Here next month.
What date is that?
16th of April? Is that the third Tuesday? I think it is. My phone's across the room and I can't get to the calendar anyway, so. So I guess with that, we'll call it a night a little bit early for a change, since we've had to use this type of phone technology instead of a proper phone. Unless William has a note.
No, by next month, I think there should be a subcommittee set up here to take care of the remote access, whatever.
We've been working on that one for
Yeah.
years and we can't seem to get it right one way or the other.
Complicated as the federal budget.
Plus, the library staff was busy today and
Third
so
Tuesday
forth.
of April 16th.
Right. So, thank you all on the phone for coming. Appreciate it. See you guys next month.